Division in Nigeria, who is at fault? Leaders or followers? Welcome to the program, everyone out there. This is Politics Spotlight. It's no longer a rumor that as presidential aspirant for 2023 general election continues to grow. One of the presidential hopeful has, in a meeting in Lagos, said that Nigeria has become more divided under the All Progressive Congress-led administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. He accused the Buhari-led administration of failing to tie the various components in the country together, although he promised to rule the country differently if elected, but he did not mention how. In this episode today, we are going to examine the division in the country and the fundamentals as it affects the leadership and the followers. And the studio with me today are two gentlemen, Dr. John Ekundayo, a Harvard certified leadership strategist and analyst, and of course, Mr. Kolade Segun Okeowo, president, advocate for Right Leadership Association, and I'm additional Olarinwaju. The show begins in a moment. Welcome back to the show. If you are just joining us, this is Politics Spotlight on Gov TV. Dr. Kundayo, do you subscribe to the fact that this country is divided?
Without any doubt, it's glaring. It's clear by certain, things that any discerning mind could see. You see, when you have people agitating for self-determination, they want a separate nation. When you have another one, that's a secessionist group, so-called, when you have, kinds of terrorism, banditry, ravaging the land, and, people are like, okay, you can't grab my land, you can't, this is my father's inheritance, and, all this, and also something based on religion, and we cannot really see eye to eye on certain issues. Of course, it's glaring to everyone that even some are even calling for, outright throwing away of our constitution. Imagine a legal luminary like Are Afe Babalola, SAN, a lawyer, sound lawyer, calling for, let's discard this constitution. 1999 constitution has amended, and and let there be interim government. And many people, say, oh no, we should allow the whole thing to run as it's supposed to run. So definitely, that there is, and all things are not just, things are not well with this nation concerning unity of the country.
Okay, so is it for a country like us that, like a doctor said, that things are not well with us? Is it a yardstick to measure division in a country of us?
Well, on the most sincere note, when you have a country, there are two major indices to measure whether things are right with the people or not. The sense of nationalism and patriotic tendencies. When these two indices are missing, you cannot say that the citizens have a nation. It is not the nation that have the citizen. It is the citizens that should have the nation. So when the sense of nationalism is not there and patriotic tendencies are not existing, you cannot say the people have a nation. And so in Nigeria, for example, those two things are not existing in the heart of millions of Nigerians. The sense of nationalism and patriotic tendencies. If those things are existing, why will you have some people call themselves Boko Haram and they want to wipe out, a section of the nation? Another section says we are IPOP, we are angry, we want to wipe off another section of the country. And then yet another one says, oh, we want to separate. We are Oduduwa Republic and we want to go our way. Something is fundamentally wrong. Every constitution starts with a statement, we the people. We the people. That is how a constitution starts. Now that we can we define the we? Can we define the we? Can we sit down and ask ourselves, do we all agree to be we, the people, or certain people sat down and say, oh, we are the people? If we sit down today and we ask questions about should we continue as a nation, I doubt if the answer will be yes. And that's where the problem is. Something is wrong fundamentally with our decision to stay together. And in any country where the people involved, the nations, the nationalities involved are not willing, the sovereign nationalities involved are not willing to continue in that marriage, God forbid, God forbid. I pray we do not have to go to war. But now there's a need for Nigerians to sit down so that we can have a nation that we can truly say, we, the people.
All right, thank you so much. I'm going to come back to Dr. Ekundayo. Doctor, what really brought about this division? Is it, you know, certain, of course, it's ongoing now that one of the presidential hopefuls said that if elected, that is going to build about 5,000 housing capacity monthly. Yes. Or either monthly or yearly. Do you think what campaign promises like this brought about this division, or what causes this division?
Well, causing the division, there are lots of things. But in fairness, let me say that even though it didn't start from this present government, but this present government has added to it. That is the truth. You see, because appointments, people see government as, hey, that is it. That is the truth, and we must say it. And another election is coming now. In fact, for me, all these presidential elections, Nigeria should be asking them questions. They should record all those questions and answers so that they will be flashing to them when they are there in power. You see, because all these, the skill appointments, you know, skill appointment, most of appointment in this administration. This is what led to all in the beginning, 2015, 2016. We didn't have this agitation. We didn't have this agitation. Stop listening. In 2015, 2016, go and look at it. But when it was getting to 2018, and we thought, oh, second term of the present president, things will change. Imagine somebody like Pastor Adeboye, 2020. It's coming out in my column in the Nation newspaper on Sunday. I wrote about it. He came out, Baba Adeboye came out and said, Nigeria must restructure now if we don't want a breakup.
Yeah. He
said, you don't need to be a prophet. So we know these things are there. And the man of God spoke out. What happened? And he even went to Aso Rock to meet the president. What happened after? Now, thank God some presidential people are campaigning now about restructuring, but is it not a lift up? We need not just be a lift up that they will just say, and that's all. You see, we need to come together and see, why are we staying together? You know, because in the present administration, like I said, and I want to stress that, appointments have been so skilled. And for all these presidential office, they should pin them down. You know, because all these are the things, because people see government as a way to express themselves. Like what my brother said, you know, Mr. Okewo said, you see, when you don't see inclusion, you don't see yourself included. You know, this appointment, that appointment, you are hearing some names here, some names there, and it was not like this when some other president were there, like somebody like President Olusegun Obasanjo. It was not like that, you know. Even Jonathan and others, you know, it's not about issue of party now. You see, things have to be so that people know that they belong. You know, you have a lot of agitation in the Southeast, and basically the truth there is that they don't see themselves as belonging. That's the thing. Even Southwest later, they now came out with their own agitation, you see, and, you know, some other things. So we really need to address this issue going forward. That's why somebody like Ariafe Babala was thinking, are we still going to continue this in 2023? Will this country last? The old man is 90-something plus, for crying out loud, and he's thinking this way. Because he must have been thinking of the First Republic, Second Republic, Third Republic. You know, like in one of the break I was saying, was it not even better for us? You know, in the days of our forefathers than now. God forbid.
Okay, let me come back to KSO. The aspirants hopeful, which I talked about in my opening, made emphasis to the 1999 division under the then President Abacha-led administration. Now let's compare the then division and the division now. What's your take on that?
Larry, Dr. Ekundayo has nailed it very firmly. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. And I don't want to sound like the devil's advocate here by saying that it probably will even get worse. Why? The ethnic nationalities in Nigeria are not feeling a sense of belonging. Everybody feels, I am cheated. And when that happens, how do you move forward in that kind of situation? Now, I'm not going to compare this present president with president in the past or what have you. The issue is that another president will come after Buhari. The likelihood that we're going to look at him and say, you are worse than Buhari. We are likely going to tell the next president, you are worse than Buhari, if the indices do not change. It is not just about Buhari or about the next person. It's about the circumstances that surround our nationhood. That things are not well with the nation. So go and bring the best president from another country. With this kind of situation, with this kind of structure, we are likely going to have the same problem. So what am I advocating? Restructuring. That's what everybody's crying for. Even husband and wife. If the husband and wife look at themselves and one of them says, I am not interested in this union any longer, the marriage is over. Until you get the two of them to sit down and agree and say, okay, let's a little to the left, a little to the right. That's when you can say there's a marriage. You can't tell the two of them and say, oh, go and be managing. No wonder in recent times we have been having cases of husband killing wife, wife killing husband, and what have you. The best thing is to tell husband and wife, sit down, let's talk. What is wrong? Yes, frank talk. What is wrong with this union? Something is wrong with the union called Nigeria. And don't forget, the union called Nigeria itself was on the keg of gunpowder. Was a fragmented union. The amalgamation. Remember the amalgamation, the error, I'm sorry to use the word, the historical error committed by George Tubman Goldie and his friend, Frederick Lord Lugard. It was a pure economic decision that those two gentlemen made. Oh, it's easier to get products from the north down to the south where there is the sea and there is ease of transportation via the ocean. That was all. They needed to move products from the north to the south, and so they felt, oh, it's better for them to have. So it was a company decision. Royal Niger Company.
And we enter into this contraption.
That brought us into this. There was never a time the peoples of Nigeria sat down and said, we want to be a nation. It never happened. It never happened. It was a decision of the Royal Niger Company, led by Tubman Goldie and Frederick Lord Lugard. The name Nigeria, remember now, the name Nigeria was given by Flora Shaw, girlfriend or wife of Lord Lugard. So that error, that historical error, is still haunting this country till now. Unfortunately, those who did the amalgamation in 1914 gave a caveat. If after 100 years this union does not work for you, sit down and talk. Now, 2014 is 100 years. So we have a luxury of more than 6 years after 2014, where those who made that amalgamation gave a caveat that after 100 years, you guys can sit down and talk. It's 100 years now. It's over 100 years. So we need to sit down and talk. This issue of restructuring is paramount.
We're going to come back to the issue of restructuring. Let me come back to Dr. Ekundayo. Dr. Ekundayo.
Yeah.
As an historian, he has taken us to history. Now, whose failure, whose fault? The leaders. Or, of course, he mentioned that those who came together to form it, they are just like two, and they form it together. And they even
businessmen.
They're like businessmen. They gave preference that after 100 years, let's sit down and let's retalk. Now, looking at these indices, whose faults? The leadership or the followers?
Well, everything starts from the head and it flows down. Leadership is influence. In leadership school, business school, we are taught that leadership is influence, but it's a dynamic interaction of participants, which are basically leaders and followers. You see, and you know, if I could go further, leadership is in a context. For instance, you know, you are the presenter of this program now. You tell me when I should talk. So you tell Mr. Kolade, okay, when you should talk. So you are leading, you are driving. Like also you listen to your producer. So if I'm inside the vehicle, my driver is driving me. Of course, he's holding the steering. As far as that context is concerned, he's the one holding the steering. He's the leader. So we are all involved in this issue of division. You see, look at what happened in Sokoto over the last weekend. Look at, was it caused by Buhari? Was it caused by Tambua, Governor Tambua? It was not. It was by followers. You see, but certain things were in them. Certain things were put into them. And that is why there is a need to, like I will buy is what? Restructuring. We need to restructure. And we need to educate our people, enlighten our people, enlighten the followers again. Leaders have failed Nigeria, no doubt. Somebody wrote a book, you know, about Nigerian problem as leadership, you know, the late Professor Shino Achebe. You see, but for me, I interrogated that book, that it's not just the leaders. What about the followers? Under the military, yes, followers, likely. You see, but under the democracy we have now, no, they come to you, they come to me, and they come to some other people, and they give you 2,000-3,000, give you 4,000, 5,000, and you change your mind. You go and vote for somebody you know this person will not do well. You see, so what are we talking about? Then we enter into it. It's like entering one chance bus, which, of course, you know, it will not be well with people there, you know, reaching their destination. So, like this, that of the leaders, fine that we have this, you see, but then the followers, under a democratic setting we are in now, 2023 is around the corner. It is time to change the narrative and make up our mind. You see, like, you know, the youth have the answers, you know, born this, born that, which at the end of the day, I've said it, I've written about it, all that went down the drain as a waste, as far as I'm concerned. You see, because they are leaders, you don't have a movement like that, and you don't have leaders that are identified. They should be, but they were hiding. Now, if to say they are moved from there to form a strong political movement, strong political movement, they will now, PDP, APC, I want to mention it, they will be jittery and be negotiating with them by now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, some of them will end up in the House of Rep, some of them will end up in the House of Assembly, some of them we end up as presidential aides, you know, so they will be coming, and that is where I can now bring out that followers are also part of the problem. You see, so that because it is when you are now among them, then you begin now to, you know, learn some things and begin to see some things, and then we can be in the process of nation building. But if this has to happen, we need to sit down on the table. You know, Nigeria, let me say this before I leave this something, that Nigeria is not a nation. It should be corrected. Nigeria is a conglomerate of nations. You see, like what Mr. Okewo said, you see, before all this amalgamation, you have the strong Benin Empire.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah.
That even in Europe, they have to come to study.
Sending
you have the
ambassadors.
Yoruba Empire.
Yeah.
You know, you have the Kanuri.
Yeah.
You have the Hausa's kingdom, and so on and so forth, like that.
Fulani Caliphate.
And in the south is the Igbos. They have their own system, and it was working for them. You know, before you now bring all of us together and you give us one. You know, so we need to sit down now in this digital age and see something and discuss the way forward.
All right, let's. So you were talking about the amalgamators, the preference they gave that after a century that we can, that we can restructure. But now it seems that people, we are clamoring. Of course, I've seen people who they propounded that is either we abolish the current constitution and we go for restructuring. Now, looking at the timing, do you think we have about less than 10 months or less than 10 months to the general election? Do you think if we put ourselves together, Kesu, do you think restructuring is possible?
Well, where there is a will, there will always be a way. What you don't want to do will always be impossible. But if you want to do it,
Yeah.
you know, and thank God we have a nation where things, if we want to make things work, it will work. But the first thing is to agree on the need for it. Yes, of course, if we agree that there's a need for it, it doesn't stop the current process from going on. The current process can go on. But we must have an understanding that, okay, those who are going to be elected, those who are going to become the president, the federal legislators and all of that, they should buy into that understanding that there's a need to sit down and talk. Because the sitting down to talk cannot be done in vacuum. Leadership, you cannot have a nation that, you know, there'll be no, you can't create vacuum in leadership. And that's why the process must not stop. That's why I do not agree with those who say that the process must stop abruptly. You can't stop a process. You can't stop government abruptly. You will cause chaos. It will become an animal kingdom where everybody will do whatever he or she likes. So we must continue the process, but with an understanding that there's a need to sit down to talk. This nation needs to come together, and everybody must say, do we want to continue? See, every nation, Dr. Kundayo has mentioned that Nigeria is one nation. We are one nation. So those nations, I can tell you truly, each of those ethnic nationalities can actually stand on its own. Or let's have a loose confederacy.
Yes.
Let's have a loose confederacy where the center will be weak.
Like United States of America.
Exactly, like what we have in America. Let's have a loose confederacy so that every state grows at its own pace. You know, the Western region was growing at its own pace. Exactly, like the First Republic. The Eastern region was growing at its own pace. The Northern region was growing at its own pace. Can we return to that, please? So that at least we still have, our own people can have a sense of nationalism and, you know, belonging. We can have a lingua franca. We can choose to have lingua francas in all this. But as it is in Nigeria now, we can't think of a lingua franca for Nigeria.
So
you can't.
Let me just interject. What you are saying
sir.
is, I stayed 4 years in Singapore. You see, and do you know that the official language of Singapore is English, but they now have national languages, which are Mandarin Chinese. You have Malay for Malaysia, Singaporean, and then you have the Hindi for those who are Indian. You know, because majorly there are three major tribes. You know, the Indian Chinese, the Indian Singaporean, the Chinese Singaporean, and the Malay Singaporean. So you can speak any of these three languages in the offices. You can, and then you learn in school. If you are Chinese, you must learn one extra with your own. You see? So part of national integration is that. And then one of their prime minister came. He discovered that, you know, Chinese Singaporean will stay in one place, and then Indian will stay in one place. So he now made a policy. He beat housing estate. So you apply. When you apply, it meets you together, and then you stay among one another. So no more fighting, no more rioting. Everybody now knows. So and they live together.
All right, Doctor. He also mentioned that the process of restructuring can continue while we prepare for the general election, knowing fully well that the time to plan and to carry out a proper restructuring is not on our side. Would you say that it's going to be a yardstick for political parties, more importantly the current administration, if they embark on such process? Do you think it's going to be a yardstick for them to win this election? You are going to answer that question when we come back from this break. We're going to go on a short break now, and when we return, Dr. Ekundayo will do justice to the question.
INEC hereby inform the public that only Nigerians 18 years and above who have never registered to vote should register during the last phase of the ongoing continuous voter registration ending on Thursday, 30th June 2022. Those who want to transfer their voting locations to another or replace lost or damaged voters' cards or correct their information such as spelling of names, dates of birth, etc. should not register afresh but indicate as such for action by INEC. This is to to prevent double registration, as the names of persons who registered before are still valid in the Register of Voters. Previously registered voters up till December 2021 can collect their PVCs at the registration centers. This message is from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. INEC, making your votes count, consolidating our democracy.
All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Politics Spotlight. And before we go on the break, I was asking Dr. Kundayo if the current administration kickstarts the restructuring process, don't you think it's going to be a means for them to win the election?
Really, let me start by saying, if there's a political way, like what my brother said the other time, Mr. Okewo, that where there's a way, there's a way. You see, if there's a strong political way by the leaders in this government, something could even begin, snowballing into restructuring, possibly for the next.
What are those things?
I mean, there should be, first of all, there should be integration within the next 10 months. You see, thank God some ministers are leaving the cabinet, believe some other people will come in. It should be a time for President Muhammadu Buhari now to do social integration. Social integration, I mean, about all the whole country. It's very, he can use this 9 months, 10 months to do something like that, to bring people, to have a sense of belonging, reaching out, to the nationalities, and so that preparing the ground. And then secondly, what I want to say is that this is where the followers now come in. And lately, we have seen Nigeria resigning to the background. For crying out loud. You see, where the vibrancy in Nigerian Labour Congress, Trade Union Congress, Nigerian Medical Association, Nigerian Bar Association. Can I be mentioning all these associations? You see, now it's just because of ASU something now we are seeing them, showing their muscle. Even in those days when we were in school, that when Femi Falana was in school, he was our PRO. We had vibrancy, about national events. We even shaped some national events. This is the time for them now to shape national events by making sure restructuring is on the top burner of the agenda of any party campaigning, especially the union parties. Is it because one thing I've written in my column, and I'm still saying it now on the television, go and look at it. It's empirical fact. From 1999 to 2019, 20 years of election in Nigeria, is either of the two major political parties that has ever produced president. That's why we should be interested in what is happening in APC. We should be interested in what is happening in PDP, in choosing their flag bearer. They are jettisoning Sony now. That's part of it. And we're talking about division. Somebody has been there 80 years who happened to be from one part of the country. And you want another 80 years to be from that same part of the country. What are we saying? Just like my brother said, are we even moving away? What are we even interested in this nation or in this country? Do we want it to continue?
Let me throw that to Mr. Kolade Shegun Kiewo. Your organization has to do with advocacy and leadership. Now let's talk about the issue of zoning, like you mentioned, and consensus. Zoning consensus, is it constitutional? If it is constitutional, is it okay? Is it constitutional? On the other hand, is it a party? What right has a party to say it is zoning we want, it is consensus we want? Because that play out in the election of the current chairman of All Progressive Congress. The election that brought in Adamu is a consensus thing. What is your take on zoning and consensus? Don't you think it's part of the division we are talking about?
Well, the leadership of a political party are empowered to take decisions on zoning and consensus. Now, whatever decision the leadership of the party takes, as long as it is taken by the majority of the leadership of that party. Now, we are not, we don't have any legal obligation to go against the decision of the party. So consensus is is acceptable in a political party arrangement. Is that okay? Now, be that as it may, we also must tell the people in the political parties that, come, you are not representing only yourselves. You are representing 200 million human beings. That political party is not yours, so to say. It's not your private property. By and large, you can become the national chairman of People's Democratic Party. You can become I can become the national chairman of APC by constitution, because I'm a Nigerian. I'm entitled, to hold any office in any of the political parties of my choice, as long as I am not belonging to two political parties at the same time. So these are the messages that we need to pass across. Now, in a nation like Nigeria, or in a country like Nigeria that we have identified that it is not a nation, it is a nations, you cannot rule out zoning formula. You can't rule it out. What does that mean? It means that we are giving chance to these ethnic nationalities to have a sense of belonging. You may not need that in other countries whose history, whose background are not similar to Nigeria. But for a country like Nigeria, where ethnic nationalities still they are still grappling with the reality of, do we really belong here? You cannot but allow for zoning, so that everybody will have a sense of belonging. Okay, if you take the presidency, oh, this one will take the vice president, this one will take this one will take this. We can't blanket this and say, oh, if all the leaders come from the same zone, it doesn't matter. We are calling for anarchy. We are calling for war. We are calling for problem. So we cannot but give room for such things. And so in this present dispensation, the northern part of Nigeria must understand that the embers of war, feelings of dejection are high in the heart of Nigerians, especially the southern part of Nigeria. Therefore, the honorable thing to do at this moment is to allow the southern part of Nigeria to produce the next president. All
right, I'm going to throw it to you. When the doctor was talking, he was making emphasis to mentioning where are the professionals, where are the doctors, where are the lawyers,
let's say professional group.
Now, how can we? They are under the followership we are talking about as this contest is concerned. Now, and he also talked about tipping. When they come, they give you association, they give you maybe 50 million, as done recently to an association, 50 million naira. Now, how can followership or followers stop or kick against? How can the issue of tipping, buying of followers, how can it be curtailed? Or how can what's your organization doing to help in this regard?
I did say on this program in one of the past editions that one of the biggest challenges that we have in this nation is the lack of orientation, the wrong mindset that our people, the Nigerian people, have about leadership. That the more you are able to give in terms of spending, doling out money, that is what qualifies you to be a good leader. I have listened to young people tell me that this candidate is not as good as this candidate because he doesn't spend. That's sad. That's sad. That you can only measure a candidate based on his spending power. Now, when somebody spends so much money to get into office, for crying out loud, what miracle are we expecting him to perform? People have said that the Nigerian Legislative House, for example, is the highest paid in the world. I agree with them, but they have not also taken cognizance of the fact that it is in Nigeria that you spend so much money to get into political office. So when you spend so much to get into political office, for crying out loud, what miracle are they expecting such leaders to go and perform? So one of the things we are doing is to de-emphasize the mindset of our people. For example, one of the things we did in our association, we set up an organization, and we are fronting, we are supporting some candidates, some aspirants. We have identified some aspirants, And we have done to the extent of even raising funds and donating to an aspirant and say, we are giving you money. We are not even expecting, we are not expecting money from you. What we are, from our own widow's might, we are donating so amount of money to your campaign. Why? We have identified you, that you are a good, material, you are a good aspirant. We pray that you will become the candidate of your party. Take this amount, we are supporting you. We are sending a message to the whole world. We are sending a message to Nigerians that, can we please change the narration? Can we change the narration from the usual, give us something, so that we can pray for you, we can do this for you. We have somebody said that votes don't count.
That votes count. That prayer points don't
count. That vote does not count. But I have disagreed. I said, come, if you think votes don't count, why do politicians buy it?
That's another
why do they pay? Why do they pay? As I speak to you now, a lot of politicians are, they are working in conjunction with INEC to get holds of people to go and register. Some are actually providing transportation means to carry people to INEC office to go and get them registered. If they believe that votes will not count, if votes will not really count, why are they doing all those efforts? But unfortunately, the problem is that at the end of the day, those votes will be bought. And that's a tragedy. Imagine people collecting 2,000 naira, 3,000 naira, 5,000 naira from a presidential, from a governorship candidate because they want to vote for him. What sort of miracle will that governor perform when he gets into office? Go and check the budget, the budgetary estimate, or the funding of the funds that a governor has put into an election in Nigeria. You will be shocked. The average is about between 4 to 5 billion naira. Between 4 to 5 billion naira goes into the election.
What's the money used for?
Larry, Larry, you are in Nigeria. Why are you asking me?
They will break it down for you.
Why are you asking me? Of course, there are legal expenses that you don't have any choice. For example, mobilization, personnel
on the road,
fuel, transportation, feeding, welfare. Those are legitimate expenses that any candidate must go through. But beyond that, there are other expenses that are not documented. And that's where the big problem is. So until our votes goes beyond this stomach infrastructure level, unfortunately, we are still at that level, the level of stomach infrastructure. I categorize the Nigerian voters into 3 categories. Number 1, the commercial voters. Number 2, the controlled voters. Number 3, the conscience voters. Now, the commercial voter form the largest majority of the Nigerian voting population, the commercial voters. Pay me and I vote for you. In Yoruba land, they call it Kamapadimo. They call it Diboko Sebe. Kamapadimo. So what that means is, just give me money, let me go and cook some soup in my house. And then
those are the largest number of people voting.
Those are the largest number of people voting. The second category are the categories of the control voters. Those who wait for somebody to tell them where to vote. So when a leader comes and says, this is where we are voting. Now, that is very popular in the northern part of Nigeria, where the Almajiris, they don't even know who the candidate is. And they don't care to know. All they know is that somebody somewhere, one big man says, this is the person to vote for, and they vote for that person. Those are control voters. Finally, the conscience voters. Unfortunately, that category is the largest category, but it is a big for nothing category. A category that very docile,
alienated,
very docile, but they form the largest
and
category.
And they are the ones making noise.
And they are the ones making noise.
Social media.
On election days, they will watch the television and do the best critique and analysis, but they will not vote. Unfortunately, they form the largest number of voting population, but they won't vote. I give an example. In one of my constituencies, in my constituency, during my first election, the first time I ever contested the election in my constituency, there were 52,000 voters. At the end of the counting of ballot and all of that, the winner emerged with 4,100 votes. That, my friend, went into the State House of Assembly with 4,100 100 votes in a constituency of 52,000 voters. He emerged the winner. All the votes counted, less than 10,000. 10,000 votes.
Main election.
General election, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. House of Assembly election. All the votes counted.
Not by election.
Sir?
Not by election.
No, sir. I'm talking from experience. I was part of that process. Just about 10,000 votes. And then he got the highest. The highest was 4,100 votes. So
and somebody is saying vote doesn't count.
For me, votes count. I
Because
know
you have
votes
seen
count.
it.
I've seen it. Votes count. Of course, there are riggings. There are processes of riggings here and there. But like one major politician said in the whole western region of Nigeria, he said, you can't even rig where you are not popular. You can only rig where you have votes. But you don't have votes, you have not been voted for, and you want to rig. It's not possible. So those who are rigging, they are adding the rigging to the voting. If nobody has voted for them, if they don't have popular votes, rigging is not possible. If, for example, you have scored 10,000 votes and your opponent has scored 11, you can rig. With 10,000, you can rig the guy who scored 11. But if the guy, somebody is scoring 11 and you are scoring 2,000, who born you to rig? You can't rig that kind of election. And we have examples of that all over Nigeria. So, to a large extent, votes do count. Thank you, sir.
All right. As you were talking, I was considering what aspect of voter am I? Am I a commercial voter?
Or control voter? Or conscious voter?
Now, let me come back to Doctor. Don't you think the opera in the eastern part of the country, the issue of the IPOB who are not giving the country or the present administration rest, don't you think is a yardstick for saying the presidency of 2023 is not going to that aspect of the country?
Let me just say this, that for our brothers in the Southeast, it's good to know one thing. In politics, you have to build bridges. You know, it's important. You need to present your case. You need to network. You need to build bridges. It's not just that, oh, okay, because of this, we'll make it up, we'll make this, that. No. You see, now, one thing that is salient, because I see agitation now, even about zoning and whatever. I was watching one of the channels yesterday, and somebody from that main part of the country was on, and then was saying, well, it's our turn, it's this. Of course, everybody can say that southwest, southeast, south. You can't say that. You see, but what is most important is you must get other regions to trust you. There must be that. You see, people, our brothers in the southeast must not forget that. You see, it is time for them to reach out. Reach out across. You see, even in the southwest, how trusting is to the southeast. Now, going to northeast, going to northwest, there must be, and it is high time people in the southeast begin to, especially their leaders, they began now to reach out, to build bridges. You see, that's why for me, you know, during the time of Obafemi Awolowo, he will have actually claimed the presidency. You see, but not enough building of bridges was done. You see, at that time. You see, Baba wanted more of east, southeast, southwest, you know, people in the south rather than the north. You see, that is why we must not castigate our politicians who are building bridges. It is important. You see, because democracy, whether you like it or not, is not a game of faces. So it's a game of number. It's not a game of tribes. So, all these people, you need them. Because it is their number. So you need to network, you need to go to them, you need to let them know who you are and place the card on the table, and they trust you. Then they can vote for you. That's all that's in politics. So they need to do more about that. It's not just about agitation. You see, if there is that agitation and people, other regions cannot trust them, they can't get the presidency.
All right, as we begin to close home, let me throw it up. Of course, I'm going to throw it first to Keso. From your conversations, I've deduced that to end division in this country, there is need for peace and unity.
Yeah.
Now, let me throw it to Keso. How can 2023 is just at the corner? How can peace and unity be achieved before general election?
Well, that's a tall dream. God will help us. Yeah, fairness and justice. Fairness, equity, and justice. They are very key. Yes, sir. In this, we are actually sitting on a keg of gunpowder. But I do pray that God will see Nigeria through. This next election, INEC has a major role to play by ensuring that the winner of this election is the desire of the people. Any attempt for INEC to foist leadership or to force leadership on the people of Nigeria by way of electoral fraud, electoral malpractices, might actually explode this keg of gunpowder that we are sitting on. So it's a passionate appeal that I'm making to the leadership of INEC, as led by Professor Mahmoud, to ensure that the leadership of INEC and those who are going to be in charge. Dr. Kundayo did make an example of people in the educational sector, the professors who are used many times to perpetrate electoral fraud. The vice chancellors. These are ASU members. It is ASU members that become vice chancellors. Are they not the ones? At the end of the day, they are the ones that will be used by politicians to perpetrate evil. But at the end of the day, they are still the ones that will be at the
receiving end.
As it is going on now, that will be at the receiving end of the stroke of the cane. So we are appealing to them. Nigerians are watching. Allow Nigerians' votes to count. Let Nigerians take a decision on who they want as their next president. Do not tamper with the will of the people in this next election. That's my message for Nigerians and particularly to INEC.
All right, before I come back to Dr. Kundayo as we coast home, what's the organization doing to ensure that voters and PVC-related issues are sorted out?
Well, Advocates for Right Leadership Association, ALA, otherwise known as Believers in Politics, we are doing all kinds of sensitizations to bring people to understand the need why they must vote. And part of the things that we are doing, we have coined some captions that has become very popular. For example, INEC will not count prayer points. That statement came from us. INEC will not count prayer points and such things, because we are doing everything positive to sensitize people, to get them to register to vote, and to also let them know that votes do count. We also coined the adage that if votes don't count, why do politicians buy? These are some of the things we are doing to change the mindset of the people, to get their orientation. And we're also working hand in hand with the Directorate of Politics and Governance under the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria to ensure that political education is sent across the length and breadth of Nigeria, particularly the church. One of the major culprits of voter apathy is the church. The major culprit of voters' apathy is the church.
Imagine a church of
we're going to talk about that.
You can't get votes of 20,000.
We're going to talk about that some other time.
All right.
Voter apathy. Let me come back to as we coast home, Doctor. How can national unity be produced or be achieved as we prepare for 2023 general election on a final note?
That's a big one. As we prepare for the election, national unity. It is high time we, began to see ourselves, just like my brother said, on the basis of fairness, equity, justice. I should see good in my brother, whether a Fulani, whether a Hausa, a Berom, a Shekiri, a Ijaw, Igbo, Yoruba, whatever tribe, or Ibera, or Nupe, I should see myself in him. That's why, thank God for the NYC that the government of General Gowon, brought up. That was the first time I crossed the Niger in my life. Going to Yola to serve, Jimeta Yola. It was then Gongola State. No more Taraba at that time. And it made me to understand. I could see different nationality. You know, I could see the Bashamas, the Fulanis, the Awusas within the same state. You know, not just we all, oh, they are all Fulani, they are all Gambari. No, it's not that. So we must begin to identify these nationalities within Nigeria. We must begin to see them at the level we see ourselves, you know, going forward. And then I want to say this. It is high time to Nigerians began to interrogate our politicians, our aspirants, with some questions. That's why I will still revert back to this issue of the professional bodies. You know, it is time they should engage these aspirants, especially when they emerge on the party basis and their candidate. Call them the Nigerian Bar Association, Nigerian Medical Association, you know, all, you know, Nigerian Labour Congress, you know, Trade Union Congress, and all these organizations. Call them. You see, let them be accountable, you know, to issue of restructuring, issue of how they are going to turn around the economy and things like that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
And I want to thank KSO for joining us on the program
Thank
today.
you.
Don't forget, it is highly time for Nigerians to begin to interrogate the politician. On this note, we want to bring this episode to a conclusion. But let me remind you and ask and question you. Are you a commercial, control, or conscious voters? Next time, on this edition, we want to bring it to a close, and then we would like you to join us on any of our social media platforms as is displayed on the screen. And until when I meet you again, don't forget, are you a conscience, control, or commercial voter?